Another Walmart near the Canadian border cut its weekend hours. Not because of a strike, not due to supply chain problems, but because their biggest customers, Canadians, just vanished. No protests, no angry speeches, no boycott announcements. They simply stopped coming. And in the silence, billions of Canadian dollars disappeared from American cash registers, leaving entire border towns gasping for economic air. This is the story of the most devastating retail boycott in history. One so quiet, nobody saw it coming. Remember when Walmart parking lots in Buffalo looked like a United Nations meeting? Outlet malls along the border packed every weekend? Ontario license plates lined up for miles, all hunting for bargains? For decades, Canadians flocked across the border like migrating birds. They called it border strolling, a budget-friendly way to shop and explore. Lower prices, lower taxes, bigger selections. From gas to groceries to Levi's jeans, everything was cheaper. In the U.S., the cross-border shopping boom wasn't just a cultural trend, it was an economic force. Some border towns pulled in 1/4 of their retail revenue from Canadians alone. Entire malls, plazas, and convenience strips were built to serve this weekend wave of foreign customers. Store clerks spoke in French. Road signs pointed the way from Canadian highways. It was friendly, profitable, and mutually beneficial. But something changed. It didn't happen all at once. First came delays, then came stricter rules. After COVID, everything got harder, longer border lines, new documentation, tighter customs inspections, and higher toll fees. But the final blow wasn't just a rule, it was a feeling. Canadians started to feel unwelcome. It wasn't one big event that triggered it. It was a slow drip of tension. News stories began blaming foreign shoppers for local inflation. Social media exploded with mocking posts calling Canadians border bandits. Travelers were held up for hours for bringing back too many groceries or a few extra bottles of maple syrup. Some were fined, others were grilled like criminals for buying too much cheese. The magic was gone. What used to feel like a fun day trip had become a chore. What was once a bargain now felt like a burden. So they just stopped. And now, the numbers are brutal. In some towns, retail traffic is down more than 60%. Restaurants are shuttered. Gas stations are posting the lowest weekend sales in over a decade. Even brand name retailers, Target, Kohl's, TJ Maxx, have closed or scaled back their border locations. Some malls have gone eerily quiet. Their once packed food courts reduced to a few tables and a lone pretzel stand. This isn't just about shopping bags, this is about survival. Places like Bellingham, Washington, once a Canadian hotspot, are now shadows of their former selves. Its local Costco, once so flooded with Canadian shoppers it printed signs in both English and French, now looks like a ghost town. The once busy Belly's Fair Mall has cut its hours, shut down stores, and is offering steep discounts just to get foot traffic. Watertown, New York, used to count on Canadians for 70% of its weekend sales. Now, it's laying off staff, cutting menus, and closing doors. One family-run diner laid off half its kitchen. "We used to count on the Ontario crowd," said the owner. "Now it's just tumbleweeds." And Niagara Falls, New York, the American side, has felt the biggest sting. With fewer Canadians crossing over, everything from souvenir shops to ice cream stands is suffering. But what makes this boycott different is that it isn't loud. It's not driven by political campaigns or activists. It's not plastered on signs or shouted into bullhorns. It's emotional. Canadians didn't organize, they just acted. They didn't raise their voices, they lowered their wallets, and it worked. American businesses are finally noticing. Chambers of commerce are ringing alarm bells. Town mayors are pleading for federal support. "We can't afford to lose Canadian shoppers," said one local leader. "They're not just visitors, they're a part of our community, our economy. But winning them back won't be easy. You can't rebuild trust with a 10% off coupon. You can't fix disrespect with a flyer. You can't repair 3 years of friction with a welcome sign. Meanwhile, something fascinating is happening north of the border. Canadian businesses that once struggled to compete with U.S. prices are now thriving. Hardware stores, clothing boutiques, even specialty food shops are reporting record sales. One Ontario-based retail chain posted its strongest quarter in a decade. We're finally seeing people shop local and stay local, said one manager. They're choosing Canadian-made and they're proud of it. In fact, some Canadian towns near the border are seeing a reverse trend. Americans coming up for deals on healthcare services, prescriptions, or simply a more welcoming experience. It's an ironic twist. The hunted have become the hosts. And now the blame game begins in the US. Some point fingers at post-COVID travel restrictions. Others blame rising prices, rude customs agents, or outdated infrastructure. Still others cite former President Trump's trade and immigration policies, which added friction to cross-border movement. But beneath it all lies a simpler truth. If you make people feel like outsiders, they'll stay outside. The real shock? How long it took for businesses to catch on. For years, traffic data showed a decline in Canadian cross-border visits. But the corporate response was silence. Profits were prioritized, feedback ignored, community ties eroded. One travel analyst put it bluntly, you can't tax goodwill, but you can lose billions by ignoring it. And lose they did. At the peak, Canadian shoppers spent an estimated $20 billion a year in the US. That figure has fallen below $8 billion and continues to plummet. That's a silent withdrawal of $12 billion from American border towns without a single protest or press conference. It's one of the most effective boycotts in retail history and the quietest. So what happens next? The future depends on one thing, whether anyone's willing to listen. Canadians are still close. Many still hold fond memories of trips to U.S. malls, diners, and theme parks. But memories alone won't bring them back. If American towns want their neighbors to return, it'll take more than clearance sales. It'll take courtesy, fair treatment, and a little humility. Until then, towns along the U.S. border will continue to shrink their hours, slash their staff, close their doors early on weekends that once meant booming business. And Canadians, they'll keep shopping, just not here. Because this silent boycott isn't just about saving money, it's about saving dignity. And right now, that dignity is missing.